let's talk about something wild. What if I told you that the very same AI that caused a huge stir on the US stock market was, just a few weeks later, unveiled as the brains behind a new generation of autonomous military hardware? Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't some movie plot. This is the very real story of DeepSeek, a Chinese AI that's living a pretty startling double life. So look, on one side, you have January, when DeepSeek's debut is powerful enough to really shake up investors. And then on the other side, you have February, where that exact same technology is being shown off as the engine for advanced combat vehicles. This is the core puzzle we're going to unpack, how a single AI bridges the gap between Wall Street and next-generation warfare.
So, what is this DeepSeek thing anyway? Well, it's one of China's top-tier AI models, built by a tech startup and designed to handle incredibly complex problems. And it's so good that back in January, its performance was a big reason Nvidia's stock took a nosedive of over 14%. But honestly, that's just where this story kicks off.
Right, so that shock to the financial system, it turned out to be way more than just a bad day for a stock. It was basically a flare lighting up the sky and pulling back the curtain on something much bigger. A quiet but incredibly fast revolution happening inside China's military. And this right here is the first piece of the puzzle that came into public view. In February, China's state-owned defense giant Norinco showed off the P-60. It's an autonomous combat support vehicle, and it can cruise along at 50 kilometers per hour all by itself. And the brain behind it all? DeepSeek AI. This wasn't just some prototype. It was a statement, a loud one.
Yeah, and the P60 isn't just some one-off cool project. No, it's a piece of a much larger puzzle. It's part of a deliberate, systematic national strategy, a blueprint really, to weave AI into the very fabric of their military to get a serious strategic advantage.
And listen, they are not being shy about this at all. As this quote from Communist Party officials makes crystal clear, they see this as a major play in the arms race with the US. The language couldn't be more direct. This isn't just about modernizing their defenses. It's about actively trying to get ahead in a global competition. Now, you might be wondering, how do we know all this? Well, while the specific tactical details are, of course, state secrets, everything we're talking about is based on a really deep dive into hundreds of public documents. We're talking university research papers, patent filings, even government procurement records. And when you piece them all together, they paint an incredibly vivid picture of Beijing's ambitions. Okay, so let's take a look inside that AI arsenal. What does this next generation of autonomous weapons actually look like? Well, those documents give us some pretty amazing clues. First up, you've got autonomous drone swarms. Research from places like Beihang University, which is a top aviation school, shows how they're using models like DeepSeek to let whole formations of drones think together, to track and engage targets with very little human oversight. And then you've got these pack-scouting robot dogs. The Chinese military has actually put out requests for AI-powered robot dogs that can work in teams to scout out dangerous areas or even clear things like landmines. And this isn't just theory. We've already seen very similar robots from a company called Unitree participating in live fire drills. And it goes beyond just the hardware. A huge piece of this is about speed. Using AI to scan mountains of satellite and drone imagery to pinpoint targets almost instantly. The key takeaway here is this. The timeline, from spotting something to taking action, is being compressed to almost nothing. This obsession with speed goes all the way to the top, to grand strategy. A massive area of development is something called AI wargaming. Essentially, using an AI like DeepSeek to run through thousands, even millions of battlefield scenarios to figure out the absolute best course of action at a speed no human team could ever hope to match. So, to put this in perspective, think about this. According to the researchers working on this, a team of highly trained human military planners would need about 48 hours to properly analyze 10,000 different battlefield scenarios. That's 2 full days of round-the-clock work. And the DeepSeek-powered system? It crunches through that exact same workload in just 48 seconds. Let that sink in for a moment. 48 hours of human strategic planning done in less than a minute. That's not just an improvement, that's a complete game changer. Of course, none of this AI magic, none of this incredible speed is possible without one absolutely critical ingredient:
advanced computer chips. And that brings us right to the technological heart of this new arms race.
And here's the fundamental tension. Right now, most of the world's most advanced AI runs on chips designed by American companies, especially NVIDIA. China's big ambition, though, is to break that reliance. They want to be self-sufficient, and they're pouring resources into their own homegrown champions like Huawei with their Ascent chips to catch up. This chart tells such a fascinating part of the story. If you look at patent filings from research groups tied to the Chinese military, you see NVIDIA's A100 chips mentioned 35 times, and Huawei's chips only 15 times. So what does that tell you? Even with U.S. export bans, Chinese military researchers are still heavily reliant on American technology to do their most cutting-edge work. Now, as you can imagine, the U.S. is not just sitting on the sidelines. The Pentagon has kicked off its own massive plan to counter this, called the Replicator Initiative. And the goal is pretty straightforward: deploy thousands of its own autonomous drone systems by 2025, specifically to counter the kind of mass and speed that China is developing. All of this incredible technology, this blistering speed, it all boils down to one final and maybe the most crucial question of all. As these systems get faster and more independent, who or what is actually in charge? Officially, everyone says the right things. Chinese defense leaders have gone on the record saying they are committed to keeping a human in the loop. And to be fair, their counterparts in the US have said the exact same thing, that a person will always make the final call on using lethal force. But here's the problem with that promise. When strategic analysis goes from 48 hours down to 48 seconds, when battlefield decisions are being calculated in microseconds, where does a human actually fit? The window for a person to make a meaningful, considered decision shrinks to almost nothing. So the real question we're left with is, as this all gets faster and faster, can we humans really keep up?